the whole. AV booth officers are now instructed to ensure that the AV equipments are well connected to the holdings. The holding cell so that Mr. Ingsari can observe the proceedings from there. Next, we would like to proceed to the co-prosecution to put questions to this witness before us today. You may now proceed.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. President and members of the bench. Good morning, Mr. Sassoon. When we stopped last week, we were talking about a meeting that you had in Phnom Penh and some communications that you had with Khieu Samphan. I want to continue asking you a little more about the issue of requests that you made for equipment or supplies. Can you tell us how often you made requests for equipment or supplies to the leaders in Phnom Penh?
Response. The request was not made very frequently. We made one single request for the supplies or equipment to be used for the whole year.
And how many times did you personally make requests to Khieu Samphan that you recall?
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. President.
The President, Counsel, you may proceed.
I thank you very much. I believe that question is repetitive. The witness has already answered it.
Mr. President, the witness has indicated how many times he had chit-chats or communications, but I think I would like to clarify how many times he made requests and then proceed from there.
The President, the objection by counsel for Mr. Khieu Samphan is not sustained. The Chamber wishes to hear the response from the witness to the question put by the prosecutor. Witness is now instructed to respond. Witness, could counsel or could co-prosecutor put the question again to be sure?
Yes, my question is, how many times did you make requests to Khieu Samphan? Did you make requests personally to Khieu Samphan for equipment or supplies?
Response. I only chit-chatted with him. That's all.
You indicated last week that in this one chit-chat that you had requested some equipment or supplies. What was Mr. Khieu Samphan's response to your request?
Response. We only chit-chatted on some economic issues, and that's all.
Last week you told us that malaria was a disease that was problematic during the democratic Kampuchea period. And you also indicated that your recollection was that you had sufficient available medicine in the sector. Can you tell us what medicine you had available in Mondulkiri to treat malaria during the Democratic Kampuchea period?
Response. Yes, we had some medicine as indicated. However, when it comes to the specific kind of medicine for the treatment, I'm afraid I don't know, because it's the medic's business.
Do you recall during the year 1978, when we've seen that you sent a number of telegrams and had a number of meetings in Phnom Penh, do you recall requesting medicine or medical supplies from the leaders in Phnom Penh during that year?
Response. Normally, the request for medical supplies would be dealt with by the medic section, so I have no idea about this.
Now, the issue of the conversations with Khieu Samphan came up in the context of a meeting that you were telling us about, that you had traveled to Phnom Penh with, to have a meeting with Pol Pot, Noon Chea, Son Sen, and Khieu Samphan, which took place about 2 to 3 months after the death of Talang. And last week you told us about matters that you reported on in that meeting with Pol Pot, Noon Chea, Son Sen, and Khieu Samphan. What I'd like to ask you now is what instructions you received from the leaders at that meeting in Phnom Penh.
Response. The instructions I received from the leaders were concerning how to lead the people to do farming and how to make them good citizens. That's all.
Did you receive instructions also at that meeting relating to Vietnam?
Response. No, I didn't.
Mr. President, we would like at this point to read from the first interview conducted by the investigating judges of this witness, which is E3/367, and the specific ERN references are Khmer 00251-439, English ERN 00278-696, and French ERN 00486-011. And we'd also like to put that on the screen if we may.
The President, you may proceed. Personnel concerned are now instructed to ensure that the document can be put up on the monitors.
In your first interview, Mr. Sao Sarun, you made the following statement, quote, and this was a statement in relation to the meeting that we've been discussing. Quote, we reported to them our activities at the sector. We were instructed to strengthen the economy and resist against Vietnam. Do you confirm today that you received that instruction from the leaders at this meeting?
Response. It is true, the statement that I made before the co-investigating judges I cited.
And can you tell us what instructions you received from Pol Pot, Noon Chea Son Sen, and Khieu Samphan on the subject of resisting against the Vietnamese?
The President Counsel may proceed, but the witness is now asked to hold on after the chamber hears the counsel first. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think the way the question is phrased is leading. In the statement of the witness before the co-investigating judges, he makes it clear that it was Pol Pot speaking about Vietnam. So I would like the question to reflect that it was, according to the witness at least, Pol Pot that gave instructions about the Vietnamese issue. Thank you.
Mr. President, I'm happy to rephrase the question to let the witness tell us that. Mr. Witness, can you tell us what instructions you received on the subject of resisting against the Vietnamese, and who provided the instructions?
Response. I think you may repeat the question. I'm not quite sure I got it.
Yes. The question is, what instructions were you given regarding resisting the Vietnamese, and who was it that gave you those instructions?
Response. Pol Pot gave the instructions like that. He said we had to resist against them because they invaded us.
Now, when you returned to Mondulkiri after your meetings with the leaders in Phnom Penh, were you expected to implement the instructions that you had received from them?
Response. Yes, I was. And as indicated, we had to do something in resisting against the Vietnamese.
And when you returned from your meetings in Phnom Penh, did you hold meetings in Mondulkiri with sector or district officials to convey the instructions to them?
Response. Yes, I did.
Who would be invited from the sector to attend these meetings?
Response. The district committees and sector committees would be the ones who were invited to attend the meetings, including commune committees as well.
Were representatives of the sector military invited to attend these meetings?
Response. I may need clarification on the question whether you are asking about the meetings in Phnom Penh or at the respective sector.
Yes, I'm asking about the meetings you held when you returned to Mondulkiri. Did those meetings include representatives of the sector military?
Response: Yes, they were people from the district and the military sections of the sector were also invited to attend the meetings.
Last week, Mr. Salsaroon, I read to you and asked you questions, a number of questions from the interview of a friend of yours, someone you knew there, Mr. Ham Ansi. Mr. President, I'd like to now ask the witness about another excerpt from the Ham Ansi interview, which is document E3/366, and the specific reference we'd like to use is at Khmer ERN 00242-414, English ERN 00250-751, and French ERN 00283-166-67. And we'd also like to put that on the screen with your permission.
The President, you may proceed.
When Ham Ansi was interviewed, he made the following statement that I would like to ask you about. Quote, "I know that sector-level leaders went to meetings at the center. Once every month, in meetings attended by the sector comm, the sector army, and the district comms, the sector comm brought the word from the center level and explained to us to produce food and not let there be any shortages, to defend the border with Vietnam, and to track down the embedded enemies who contacted the Vietnamese and the enemy traders." End of quote. My question to you, Mr. Salsaroon, is whether, as was stated by Ham Ansi, that the instructions that were conveyed by the center and communicated to sector and district officials at these meetings in Mondulkiri included instructions to track down the embedded enemies and traders.
Response: Yes, there were orders from the top, and we at the lower levels had to ensure that the orders be implemented.
Who was it from the top that provided the order to track down embedded enemies and traders?
Response: It was Pol Pot.
Can you tell us, Mr. Salsaroon, what was done to follow Pol Pot's order and to track down embedded enemies and traders in Mondulkiri?
Response: there was nothing else other than that.
We'll come back a little more to that subject later. Mr. Witness. Now, for the time being, I'd like to move on to a different subject. On Thursday, I questioned you regarding 3 telegrams that you sent to Office 870, the last one of which was telegram 54, dated 23 April 1978. Today, I would like to ask you just a couple of questions about the next telegram that we have from you, which is dated 24th of April 1978 and is telegram 55. And Mr. President, that document is E3/498. It's also in the case file as D201/6.1. And we request, I'd like to proceed to read the telegram to the witness first and ask him some questions, and we'll also display the telegram on the screen if we may.
The President, you may proceed.
Mr. Salsaroon, let me start by reading this telegram to you. It's a fairly short telegram, and then I'll have a few questions for you. The telegram is addressed respectfully, sent to respected brother. It's telegram number 55 from you, dated 24th of April 1978, and it has 3 paragraphs in it. The first paragraph states as follows. 1. About the enemy situation. At 1 o'clock at night on the 23rd of April 1978, the Yuan enemy attacked the division office in town for about 6 or 7 minutes. We counterattacked them vigorously. Based on our examination, some of them were wounded. The second paragraph in your telegram states as follows. The matter of Chabar Dam. On the night of the 22nd of April, there was a heavy rain causing Ochabar to be flooded, but it did not break any part of the dam. And the third item in your telegram states, quote, requesting for some parts for the RAVE truck, including 1 injection pump, some fuel injections for the RAVE truck, injection pumps for 6-cent truck, and 6 fuel injections, and a number of other items are listed. My first question for you is this a telegram you recall sending on the around the 24th of April 1978? Do you recall these matters?
Response. Yes, I do. That was an attack at the division office, and we had to counterattack severely because we had to defend ourselves.
And your telegram indicates that the attack occurred at the division office in Te City. Where was Te City located?
It was in Trang Ta commune. That was the division. The attack was at the division. The attack was intense, and we had to counterattack them.
Was this a city that was located near the border, near the Vietnamese border?
It was quite far from the border. I am not sure, but it was far.
At the bottom of your telegram, there is a distribution list that indicates that copies were sent to, quote, Uncle Nguyen, Uncle Van, Uncle Vorn, Office, and Archive. There is a similar or identical distribution list at the bottom of Telegram 54 that I asked you about last week. My question is, did you write these lists of persons to whom copies of the telegrams were to be distributed, or was this list written by someone else after you sent the telegram?
The letter was sent to Pol Pot. It was someone else who wrote this.
Thank you. We've now seen 4 telegram reports that you sent to the party leaders in Phnom Penh from between the 1st of January 1978 and the 24th of April 1978. Can you tell the court why you were sending reports to the party leaders in Phnom Penh during that time period?
Well, it was to be done monthly. The report was to be done monthly. Even though the situation remained the same, we had to write up the report and send it to Pol Pot.
And was the reason that you were sending the reports because this was after Secretary Lang had been killed?
Right. Before, I did not have any right to do so. But after Lang died, I was appointed to do the task, that is to report to Pol Pot.
You confirmed last week that the responses you received to your telegrams were addressed either by Pol Pot, Nguyen Chea, or M870. What I wanted to ask you now is, what types of telegrams do you recall receiving from Nguyen Chea?
I cannot recollect that. It was a long time ago.
Mr. President, if I can read from a section of the witness's first interview with the co-investigating judges, which is document E3/367 at Khmer 00251-440, English ERN 00278-696, and French ERN 00486-012, and put that on the screen if we may.
President. You may proceed.
In your interview with the investigating judges, Mr. Sausaroon, you provided the following testimony. Quote, question, who else did you receive telegrams from? Answer, I received them from Noon Chea from time to time. They described about going to study in the educational learning sessions. Does that refresh your recollection as to the types of telegrams you remember receiving from Noon Chea?
Just, it is true as I stated before the investigating judges.
In relation to the telegrams that you sent to Phnom Penh, who established the format and procedure for sending those telegrams?
Could you please ask me again? It's not clear to me.
Who is it that instructed on how telegrams were to be sent to Phnom Penh and the form of the telegrams? Did you receive any instructions on that matter?
It was Pol Pot who instructed me.
And can you tell us when was it that Pol Pot provided instructions to you regarding the format and procedure for sending telegrams to Phnom Penh?
It was a long time ago. I do not remember it.
Let me see if I can refresh your recollection again. Mr. President, we'd like to read from what was the second interview of the witness by the co-investigating judges. It is document E3/383, and the reference is at Khmer 00345-910 through 345-911, English ERN 00350-262, and French ERN 00361-762. And we would like to put that document on the screen as well.
You may proceed, said the President.
In your interview, we have provided the following testimony, Mr. Sausaroon. Question: did you take or set the numerical order yourself? Answer: the center set it, and all sectors or zones had to do it in the same format. Question: how did you receive such instructions from the center? Answer: I received the instruction from Pol Pot when he chaired a meeting among sector committees and zone committees. The meeting was held in a place near the Royal Palace in Phnom Penh. Does that refresh your recollection as to when you received the instruction from Pol Pot relating to the sending of telegrams?
Yes, I stand by my statement before the co-investigating judges. It is clear as that.
How many people were present at this meeting between Pol Pot and the zone and sector committees? Do you recall whether this was a small meeting or a large meeting?
I do not know. I do not know about the number of people. There were many people, but I cannot tell how many of them were there.
How many times did you go to Phnom Penh to attend a meeting between Pol Pot and the sector and zone committees?
Since I was appointed, I went there only once in September 2008, says this witness. And then when the Vietnamese came in, we fled to the forest.
Were all the zones and all independent sectors in the country represented at this meeting?
I cannot tell. I do not know whether they were there altogether.
Okay, we've previously talked about a couple of trips that you took to Phnom Penh after the death of Sector Secretary Lang, one that was immediately after his death and another that was 2 or 3 months after his death. Did you later travel to Phnom Penh for a party congress that was held in September 1978 around the time of the party anniversary?
As I stated earlier, it was in September 2008. There was a General Assembly. The representatives of all provinces came and participated there.
In the answer that was translated to me, it said September of 2008. Did you actually mean 1978? This was something that happened during the Democratic Kampuchea period?
It was in September 2008. It is clear. President, can witness clarify the dates? Do you mean in September 1978, which is the Democratic Kampuchea period, or do you really mean September 2008? Can you therefore clarify the date, whether you mean September 1978 or September 2008? Witness. My apologies. I have a poor memory. It was in 1978, not in 2008.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can you tell us, Mr. Sausaroon, what subjects were discussed at the party congress that was held in September 1978?
But
importantly, it was to foster the leadership over the people. That was to make sure that they had food to eat and they had houses to stay in for all a family, for them to have enough to eat.
Do you recall whether there was any discussion at this Congress about the possible reopening of markets?
I don't think I hear that.
And Mr. President, if we could read again from the first OCIJ interview of the witness, which is document E3/367, and the excerpt we would like to read is at Khmer ERN 00251-437, English ERN 00278-694, and French ERN 00486-010. And we would put that on the screen also with your permission.
You may proceed.
In your first interview with the investigating judges, Mr. Sausaroon, you made the following statement, quote, "During the party's anniversary, probably in September 1978, I attended the study session nationwide assembly regarding the currency printing and money circulation, allowing the people to return to the cities, the reopening of markets, and I did not hear about reopening of monastery. In that meeting, they also raised the reasons that the changes occurred because Angkor had eliminated all enemies. Pol Pot personally declared that policy, and all other dignitaries in the opening and closing sessions sat next to each other and listened to him. Do you confirm this statement today? Is this a true statement about what took place at the September 1978 Congress?
Yes, I do. I stand by my statements before the co-investigating judges. The message was intended for the people. It is like what I have said to the co-investigating judges.
Your statement references other dignitaries who were present. Do you remember who were the other party leaders who attended this Congress?
I did not know them at that time when they were called on, and then I understood that they were dignitaries.
Mr. President, if I can continue to read to the witness the next section from that same interview, E3/367, which is the same page sites as before. If I may proceed.
Yes, you may proceed.
Also in your first interview, Mr. Sausaroon, on the subject of this meeting, you made the following statement, quote, "The persons who attended in the opening and closing sessions included Pol Pot, Noon Chea, Kusampan, Ing Sari, Ing Tirit, and Son Sen, but Noon Chea gave more presentations than the others." Do you confirm that this is a correct description of the September 1978 Party Congress?
Yes, I do. I stand by what I have said before the investigating judges.
Do you recall what subjects Noon Chea gave presentations on at the Congress?
But ខ្ញុំចាំ
I remember that he presented on the management of people, good management of the people, to provide houses to the people and to provide food to the people.
Do you recall whether presentations were made by Kusampan at this Congress?
No, there was not.
And do you recall whether there were any presentations by Ing Sari at the Party Congress?
No, there was not either.
You indicated in your statement that at the Congress, Pol Pot announced that markets would be reopened and that people would be allowed to return to the cities because Angkar had eliminated all the enemies. Do you recall what the reaction was of the party cadres in attendance at the meeting when this announcement was made?
But and then
money was to be used again and for the people to return to the cities, but there were no reactions from the cadre in the attendance.
Where was this Congress held and how long did it last?
But
the Congress was held. Well, I do not know about the place, but the Congress lasted for 10 days.
And was this a large meeting that was attended by representatives from throughout the country?
It was a large Congress. There were representatives from all provinces across the country.
Did the meeting include representatives from the military?
There were.
And was this a meeting that was attended by the members of the party's Central Committee?
បាទមាន
Yes, there were.
Can you describe for us who the cadres were who were invited to attend the meeting? Was it only cadres from a certain echelon or level up?
បាទ
We had representatives from the sector, from divisions, from all sectors and from all divisions.
Mr. President, if I may read another excerpt from the same interview, which is E3 367, and it is, again, a continuation from the same year-end pages that I just presented a few minutes ago. If we may put that on the screen again.
You may proceed.
In your first interview with the investigating judges, Mr. Salsaroon, you made the following statement, quote, "The attendees in that meeting were from all over the country, including soldiers and civilians who held the ranks from battalion chiefs and district comm or higher," end of quote. Does that refresh your recollection on who the cadres were who were invited to attend this Congress?
I stand by my statements before the co-investigating judges. They were representatives of the sector, the division, and the military.
Now, how did you know who were the members of the Central Committee who were in attendance at this meeting?
I knew because they were called on to the stage.
Do you recall approximately how many people were called up onto the stage?
I cannot recollect the number of those people, but I recall that people were called onto the stage.
Where were you seated in relation to the stage?
I was about 4 or 10 meters away from the stage.
Were you at a table that had been set up for the representatives from Mondulkiri?
There were tables prepared for respective provinces.
And just so I understand correctly, were members of the Central Committee identified and called to come onto the stage? Is that how you knew that members of the Central Committee were present at this meeting?
Response. Yes, these are the people I remember, people who were on the stage.
Who were the members of the Central Committee that you do recall being called up to the stage?
Response. I cannot recollect this very well. I just noted having seen them being called up into the stage one by one.
Mr. President, if I may read from a different interview of the witness, which was his fourth interview. It is document E3/404. That was also in the case file as D232/30. And the reference I would like to ask the witness about is at Khmer ERN 00398-480, English ERN 00403-024 through 403-025, and French ERN 00484-198. And again, we would like to put that onto the screen.
The President, you may proceed.
In your fourth interview with the investigating judges, you made the following statement, quote, "In September 1978 at Borai Kaila, near the Olympic Stadium, the Central Committee that included all members of the Central Committee, namely Pol Pot, Q Sampan, Noon Chea, Ing Turit, and Ing Sari, as well as the representatives of all provinces and the representatives of all divisions, participated in the Great Congress. In total, there were many hundreds of people." Do you confirm that this is an accurate statement about the September 1978 Congress, Mr. Witness?
Response. Yes, I do. Things that I stated before the co-investigating judges are correct.
And does this refresh your memory about where the Congress was held?
Response. I think, indeed, as you already cited my statement in the paragraph just now, and that's all I can say.
And as you indicated in the statement, was Q Sampan one of the members, people who was identified as a member of the Central Committee and called to the stage at the Congress?
Response. Yes, it's correct.
And was Ing Sari also identified as a member of the Central Committee and called to the stage?
Response. Yes, it is correct.
Do you remember whether the Central Committee included leaders from the provinces, such as Tamok?
Response. No, I don't know Tamok.
Do you know whether, prior to his death, whether Mondulkiri Secretary Lang had been a member of the Central Committee?
បាទគេតាមនឹងគឺគាត់ថាគាត់
Response, I heard that he was in the Central Committee.
Now, was the party congress that we've been discussing an event that was held annually in September of each year?
Response, I had not known anything about this before I was appointed the position I had been holding.
Who else from Mondulkiri came with you to this party congress?
Response, there were people from the division and me.
Do you recall whether which people from the division came with you?
Response, I do not recall the exact number of people and who they were.
And by the division, are you referring to Division 920?
Response, yes, I am. It was Division 920 and people who were from the division attended the meeting.
Was it during this party congress in September 1978 that you were officially appointed as the Secretary of Sector 105?
Response, yes, it is correct. It was in 1978, the September of 1978, when I was appointed.
And was your appointment announced at the big meeting that all the representatives were present at, or was it announced at some different meeting?
Response, my appointment was announced during the Congress held in September 1978.
Were there other appointments in addition to yours that were also announced at the Congress?
Response, no, there wasn't. I was the only person appointed during that time.
Now, while you were in Phnom Penh for this Congress in September 1978, were you asked to read a confession that implicated you?
Response, no, I wasn't.
Mr. President, we'd like to read at this time from This is, again, the first interview of the witness, E3/367, and it is an excerpt from Khmer ERN 002514440, English ERN 00278-697, and French ERN 00486-012. And again, we'd like to put that on the screen if we may.
The President, indeed, you may proceed.
At your first interview with the investigating judges, you made the following statement, quote, "When I went to attend the party anniversary in September 1978, Pol Pot asked me to read a confession. I did not know the confessor, but she implicated me, Talan, and Mang all together. Do you confirm that this is a correct statement of an event that happened at the September during the time you were in Phnom Penh in September 1978?
But
Response: Yes, I do remember this, and I read the confession. I do not know who exactly the confessor was because the person appeared to implicate me arbitrarily, and I did not do anything wrong, and I was still implicated.
And was it Pol Pot that provided you with this confession as indicated in your statement?
but
Response: Yes.
Where was it that this took place? Where was it that you met with Pol Pot and he showed you a confession that implicated you?
but អានឹងគាត់ផ្ញើ
Response: I was sent the confession from a location, a nearby location, to which I don't know.
And when you say that the confession was sent to you, where was it that you received the confession?
but ខ្ញុំអត់
Response: I could not recollect the location. I know that it was in Phnom Penh, but I just don't remember the exact location.
Do you remember where you stayed in Phnom Penh while you were present for the September 1978 Congress?
but សម្រាប់កន្លែង
Response: I stayed at the place where the Congress was held. There was a house. It's a few-story building preserved for accommodating people who attended the meetings.
How did you know that the confession that was sent to you had been sent by Pol Pot?
but
Response: I knew that it was sent from him, I was thinking about the content of the confession, which implicated me by a person who just implicated me for the sake of implication.
Do you remember what it was that this person had said about you in the confession?
But
Response: It was Pol Pot.
Perhaps you misunderstood my question. My question was the person who had written this confession. Do you remember what the confession that implicated you, what it said about you in the confession?
but
Response: I don't remember the detailed content of the implication, although I know I was implicated in that confession.
Did you have a conversation with Pol Pot about the confession after it had been sent to you?
but
Response: No, I didn't meet with him to discuss this.
During your testimony, since you've been at the court, Mr. Salsaroon, you've mentioned a number of times the Sector 105 military or security chief, Ta Sopia. Were you close to Ta Sopia?
but
Response: Yes, I was normally close in my capacity as co-workers.
Was he your brother-in-law who was married to your sister named Lat?
but
Response: Yes, he was. He got married to my sister.
Were they married during the Democratic Kampuchea regime or before that?
but រៀបការតាំង
Response: They got married during the Samdech Ao's regime.
How often did you see Ta Sopia in 1978?
but មិនបានជួបយូរ
Response: I did not see him very often. I only met him during meetings. Without such meeting, I would not meet him.
I would now like to read you another excerpt from the OCIJ interview of Ham and C that we've been using before. And Mr. President, this is document E3/366, and the excerpt that I would like to ask the witness about is at Khmer 00242-413 through 242-414, English ERN 00250-750, and French ERN 00283-166. And if we can put that on the screen as well.
The President, you may proceed.
Mr. Witness, in his interview with the investigating judges, Ham Ansi made the following statement, quote, "Ta Sophia, let me read confessions from the center in which soldiers of Division 920 had implicated persons they knew and fellow soldiers. I don't remember the names of the persons who made the confessions. I remember that one person they implicated was the chairman of a company based in Kaosima district." End of quote. Can you confirm whether confessions from the center were sent to the Sector 105 military chief, Ta Sophia?
Response: No, I do not know anything about this.
At the September 1978 Congress that we've been discussing, did Pol Pot announce a change in the party policy relating to arrests?
Response: He did say so. He said that there shall not be any arrest, and people from the division had no authority to arrest others.
Did Pol Pot say that civilian and military cadres should stop killings and arrests unless a prior summons from the center was obtained?
Response: Yes, as I indicated earlier, that whatever happened without prior summon from the Central Committee, people were not allowed to be detained or arrested by any persons from the division.
And in your last interview with the co-investigating judges, you were read a document, which was document D189.1 E3/764. The document that was read to you is a 20 June 1978 document that is titled, quote, "Guidance of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Kampuchea on the party's policy towards misled persons who have joined the CIA, served as WAN agents, or joined the KGB and opposed the party, revolution, people, and democratic Kampuchea." End of the title. Do you recall in your last interview the co-investigating judges reading that document to you, and whether that the document that they read to you was part of the policy, the new policy on arrests that you had heard announced at the September 1978 Congress?
Response. The documents were read out to me on that by the co-investigating judges.
And the document that was read to you, do you recall that was part of the new policy that had been announced at the September 1978 Congress?
But
Response. Yes, it is correct.
Now, Mr. President, if we may put that document E3/764, which is also D189.1, up on the screen, I want to read and ask the witness about the very last paragraph at the end of that document.
The President, you may proceed.
Just to correct the record, I'm told by my colleague that there was that the document that I read was translated incorrectly. The original case file number was D189.1. There are two versions of this that have been assigned E3 numbers. One is E3/764. And there is also the identical document, I believe, is E3/763. And, Mr. President, I'll proceed just to read the last part of this.
The President, you may proceed.
At the very end of this document, Mr. Salsaroon, there is a paragraph titled Instructions for the Application of this Guidance. And the first part of that paragraph of the instructions states as follows, quote, "It is requested to all the regions, sectors, and the military units to take this above guidance to educate and to conduct meetings inside their respective parties, corps organizations, ministries and offices, in the military units, cooperatives, factories, and work sites, in order that all the masses of people will learn about this policy of the party." Now, my first question for you is, do you recall whether copies of this document were distributed to you and other representatives at the Party Congress so that you could disseminate the policy to your organizations?
It is like that. It is correct as you have just read to me. But the document was distributed during the Congress.
And can you tell us what you did when you returned to Mondulkiri to communicate and implement this new policy of the party in your sector?
Yes, I disseminated that not only to the districts but also to the communes for the people to be fully informed of the instructions.
Did you hold any meetings at which you announced this new policy of the party?
I called on the people to attend a meeting and for them to further disseminate the information to the people in this districts.
Thank you, Mr. Sausaroon. Now, you have stated that Pol Pot announced at the September 1978 Congress that the markets were to be reopened and people allowed to return to the cities, and that he had said the reason for the changes was that Angkar had eliminated all enemies. Were the markets reopened and people allowed to return to Phnom Penh and other cities in October 1978 following the Party Congress?
It was like that, as I said to the investigating judges. The President interrupts. Thank you, prosecutor. Thank you, witness. It is now appropriate for us to take a short break. We will take a 20-minute break. We will come back at 10:50. Court officer is instructed to accommodate the witness and his duty counsel in his waiting room and to return the witness to this courtroom before we resume. The court is now adjourned. All rise.